Canadian Forces transformation continues today for a better Army tomorrow. Hello and welcome to Army News. I'm Sgt Craig Reid, and we thank you wherever you may be joining us from coast to coast. Our lead story takes us out to Western Canada. We all know that Canadian Forces Base Cold Lake is home of the CF-18s. Again this year, the base is the host of world-known Exercise Maple Flag 39. An Army News crew went there recently to find out what the Army's involvement is into this prestigious exercise. Sergeant Pierre Mignault spoke with the director of Maple Flag 39 and has the story.
Maple Flag is a 10-day exercise. It's an international exercise where coalition nations from around the world come together, and we run this scenario, a notional scenario, and we basically run an air war that over the course of 2 weeks. We run 3 of those back-to-back, so it runs for 6 weeks here in Cold Lake. Maple Flag started in 1979. It was born from the red flag concept, which the Americans started down in Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas. Over the course of the 6 weeks, we're going to see 11 countries plus a contingent from NATO here participating with one of their aircraft. This particular period, we have New Zealand, Sweden, United States, Canada, Germany, Holland, France, the United Kingdom, and even the Dutch Army come every year as well with their air defense. So the Dutch Army will be participating in force this year. The Canadian Army is a huge supporter for our tactical airlift guys by providing drop zone teams. And what's new this year is we're using these land forces as our notional special forces that we're inserting onto the range, securing drop zones, doing air defense duties, that sort of thing. So the role of the Army that's the future of Maple Flag. So as we move along, you will see the merging of other land force exercises with Maple Flag to make it a more relevant exercise for future operations.
AFTTC, which stands for the Air Force Tactical Training Center, was established about 6 years ago to meet the needs of not only our own country's training Air Force wide, but also the NATO Air Forces. So during Maple Flag, it's a one big concerted effort to train everybody all at the same time. We are trying to expand the Army's participation in our exercise as much as we can, because we realize that the Air Force doesn't exist just to be an Air Force. We have to exist to support the Army. And so if we forget that, then very quickly we will become irrelevant, and the Army doesn't want to use us and doesn't know how to use us. So we need to work very closely with the Army. So that's what we're really aiming for. And the Air Force Tactical Training Center is transforming into a Canadian Forces training center where we work with the Army and the Navy and the Air Force.
Exercise Maple Flag is a perfect opportunity to test those benchmarks, to modify them as required, and if any of the tactics or any of our tactics require adjustment for specific aim, we can tweak those as required in order to get the maximum effectiveness out of the aircraft. One of the great things about Maple Flag is that the way we do business is not significantly different than any other country that's here. Obviously, with ourselves in the United States, we more similarly mirror our tactics.
And it's better to train in a peacetime environment, to make the mistakes, learn from the mistakes before going to war. And I think Cold Lake here at Maple Flag is one of the only 2 occasions where you can train that without being punished.
Canada is a very important ally to the United States, and coming to this exercise shows support to the Canadian Forces. It helps us further our relations. We have some different tactics, and the way that we operate are slightly different. We come here and we can all get better together.
Maple Flag is an international exercise that involves mainly air elements. The Army is involved in this exercise because the Air Force needs the Army as the Army needs the Air Force to successfully complete the mission. I'm Sgt Pierre Mignault for Army News, Exercise Maple Flag 39, Cold Lake.